First tonight, fire departments across the Miami Valley, they are getting grants from the state. The Dayton Fire Department on that list, it's getting $5.8 million in grants. Elena Brown sat down with Dayton Fire's chief to discuss what this grant means for his department and how it's going to be used. Elena?
Adam, these men and women are constantly going into situations that are some people's worst nightmare, and they really do deserve assistance to be able to process these issues. Chief Lycan tells me that constantly going into these situations can have lasting effects.
The men and women of the Dayton Fire Department and fire departments all across the country respond to tragedies every day, and they tend to have a cumulative effect as far as how it can damage one's mental wellness.
Yeah, so Melena, will a good portion of this grant money go to mental health services?
Yes, Adam, I'm told a good percentage of the grant will specifically go to counseling services for the firefighters, but the entire grant will benefit the station as a whole. Now, coming up at 6:30, I do have more from the chief on just how important this grant is and what other local stations will be benefiting. Back to you.
Well, Elena, thanks. A several-hour-long standoff on South Irwin Street in Dayton ending in an arrest this afternoon. Officers from the U.S. Marshals Service and Dayton Police, they were looking for a suspect in that area that had a warrant out for his arrest. That suspect, identified as 37-year-old Charles Vovato, reportedly ran from officers and barricaded himself inside of a house. Dayton police tell us he refused commands to surrender and made threats of violence, so SWAT and hostage negotiation teams, they were called out. Vovato later voluntarily surrendered.
Our goal is to ultimately get them to understand the situation, realize what needs to happen, and for them to walk out and be taken into custody without being harmed. And we were successful in getting that accomplished today.
Now, two others were also inside the home at the time. They were not arrested. Well, just weeks before Nala Jackson was accused of kidnapping 5-month-old twins in a stolen car from Columbus, she was involved in car thefts and car crashes in Dublin. And she didn't face any felony charges. Lisa Rontelich shares why.
Suspected child abductor Nala Jackson goes back to court in Indianapolis next week. That's where she was caught days after police say she kidnapped 5-month-old twins Kaysan and Kyair Thomas. However, an arrest warrant placed on Jackson days earlier, stemming from car thefts and car crashes in Dublin, was considered low priority. That means law enforcement likely did not try to find Jackson before the statewide Amber Alert. Jackson had been charged with a series of misdemeanors and failed to show up for court. Felony charges of theft and receiving stolen property would have made Jackson's case more severe and her more of a threat. However, those charges are still being reviewed by a Franklin County grand jury. On your side, I'm Lisa Rontelich.
Live look from our Kettering House Skycam now. The weather continues to warm up. It has been one of the strangest 7 days, Natalie, that I can remember weather-wise, especially this time of year.
Yeah, big difference from where we were last week to what we have today. In fact, it's even warming up more now. We're close to 60 degrees, 58 in Dayton at this time, 54 in Springfield. We have 51 in Belt Fountain. Overall, nice weather across the board. You step outside, it feels pretty pleasant. And compared to this time yesterday, it's been every day. It's just a little bit warmer. Right now, we're 16 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. 13 degrees warmer in Springfield, 13 degrees warmer in Wapakoneta. Clouds have made their way in. And with those clouds, eventually we will be tracking some showers. So here's a look at our forecast for tonight. 50 for our overnight low. So we stay mild, melting. If it's not all melted away just yet, it will continue overnight. We will start to see some showers by late into the overnight hours, early tomorrow morning. I'll time it all out coming up.
Natalie, thanks. The streets of Buffalo, New York, a little bit clearer tonight, but hearts there still very much heavy. There are now 39 confirmed deaths associated with the devastating winter storm that hit that area last week. One of those deaths, a 4-month-old baby on Christmas Day. Now, officials say there are likely more deaths from that storm, but they're still waiting on autopsy reports. Now, as that area grieves and continues to recover and dig out, Erie County executives are thanking the first responders.
We will never know how many lives they saved. We will know the number of people who perished, and every death is one death too many. But we will never, ever be able to count the number of people who were saved because of the efforts that were done here.
Now, the driving ban has been lifted, but there's still a travel advisory in place. The National Guard and EMS are almost done with their door-to-door welfare checks. And Erie County's executive saying on Twitter tonight that the area will start to demobilize their emergency operations center in a little under an hour now. But emergency responses, they will continue. He says, quote, there is still a lot of work to be done. Now, to help with that, Ohio Department of Transportation workers are heading to Buffalo to help with emergency snow removal efforts. Governor Mike DeWine ordered the deployment of 28 crews, including 12 tandem dump trucks, 2 utility mechanic trucks, and 4 crew cab pickup trucks. This is a look at those crews heading out this morning from ODOT's Ashtabula garage. Now, to 28 people heading up are volunteers. They say they see this as paying it forward.
It's tough being away from the kids, but you know they realize what we do for a living, and they know the need that Buffalo's going through right now. So any help that we can give them, because we know in any situation like this, help is always needed and wanted from who's ever willing to volunteer.
It's what we do. It's what we do here. To me, it's no different. We're just going to go do it there.
Now, the crews will work in that area for about 6 days. New Jersey and Pennsylvania have already sent workers and equipment to Buffalo to help with recovery efforts. Now, ODOT's press secretary Matt Bruning tweeting that crews arrived in Buffalo just a few hours ago. The team will be moving snow in dump trucks. Remember, the snow in Buffalo is such a problem because there's nowhere to move it all. It has to be loaded up and carried elsewhere. And we all know crews have had to work extra hard over the Christmas weekend. And this past week, after that winter storm blew through the Miami Valley here. So the Miami County Commission is recognizing the county's road crews and thanking them for their efforts.
We considered our snowplow drivers warriors. They didn't care what time of day it was or what day it was. They came out and did their job. And without them, our first responders, our medical emergency services, our sheriff's office couldn't travel the roadways. So today was our day to say thank you.
Now, Mercer said the road crews battled 4 to 5 foot snow drifts in some places and did a great job. We agree, and we thank all of our plow drivers and road crews here in the Miami Valley. We are also continuing to follow the travel chaos at airports across America tonight. This is a live look at FlightAware's flight tracker. You can see today there have been nearly 4,300 cancellations, more than 15,000 delays. The majority still from Southwest Airlines. You can see 57% of their flights were canceled today. That's more than 2,300 flights. Now, stranded passengers trying to fly home with a different airline, they're being plagued as sky-high prices. Now, American, United, and Delta have placed price caps to try and limit the strain on frustrated travelers, but some ticket prices are still reaching 4 digits. Some flyers reporting tickets as high as $7,000. Southwest is promising reimbursements and has modified its website and some policies to try to give better customer service.
We've extended flexibility for self-service travel changes through January 2nd, and meaning that if you have travel plans with us before then, you shouldn't need to get on a call or stand in a line, and you can make any flight changes you need to at southwest.com.
Now, Southwest is under investigation by the Department of Transportation and is now saying it expects to return to normal operations tomorrow. The airline has been flying 1/3 of its schedule as it gets its planes and crews realigned with its scheduling system. A historic grant bringing billions of dollars to the Buckeye State tonight. What will happen next now that the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project is moving forward? In the new year, bringing peace, joy, and sports betting. The preparations being made behind the scenes and the betting sites getting ready for Ohioans to place their bets.
Plus, I'm tracking our next weather maker, which brings rain back into the picture. That's coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Last week's storm brought some impressive ice displays along Lake Michigan. The lake spray combined with some freezing temperatures coated lighthouses in South Haven. And with temperatures in the 50s, the melting is certainly underway. And check out these icicles covered in snow. Meteorologist Will Haney told us neither he nor many longtime Michiganders remember seeing anything like it.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
We're following breaking news tonight as thousands have been left in the dark. This is a live look at the AES outage map showing over 10,000 customers without power. Most of those customers are south of 35 in the Kettering and Oakwood areas. Our newsroom has reached out to AES to see if we can learn more about the cause of that outage. Once we get updated on that, we will update you on air and online at Dayton247now.com. The Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project has gotten a green light to move towards construction. The Biden administration pledging $1.6 billion federal dollars to help fund it. It's one of, if not the largest, single grants in U.S. history. James Pilcher breaks down what happens now.
Cincinnati area political and business leaders have been trying for 20 years to get funding to fix the congestion and traffic safety problems on the Brent Spence Bridge. Today, they finally got their wish with a historic grant that may be one of the largest in U.S. history.
The U.S. Transportation Department told officials from Ohio and Kentucky this morning about the $1.6 billion grant for the project. It comes from two different sources inside the $1 trillion infrastructure fund passed by Congress and signed by President Biden last year. As it stands, the project will consist of a new bridge being built to the west of the existing bridge, which is approaching its 60th birthday and handles almost twice the amount of traffic as it was originally designed for. The existing bridge will then be rehabbed and taken back down to 3 lanes each way. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said today the project will benefit the whole country for years to come.
The opportunities it's going to open up to your kids and your kids' kids are going to be worth it. This is a game changer. And you know what? When it comes to the biggest project in the country that the federal government was going to help fund, they chose Kentucky and Ohio.
The current plan calls for the money to start flowing this year so the Ohio Department of Transportation and the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet can pick a contractor to do the design and build of the project. That could take a year, meaning the construction would start in 2024, and that's supposed to take 7 years. In Covington, I'm James Pilcher.
Live look at the U.S. Capitol building now because the House committee investigating the January 6 Capitol riots has withdrawn its subpoena for former President Donald Trump. Trump would have had to turn over documents and testify about the events leading up to and on that day. He had sued the committee to block that subpoena. After it was dropped, Trump reacted on a social media platform, Truth Social, writing that he thinks it was likely dropped because, quote, they knew I did nothing wrong. The panel will cease to exist next Congress, ultimately ending its investigation into the events that happened on that day.
Well, clouds have been with us all day today, and eventually we will be tracking some rain that will be making its way into the picture as well. So overcast skies across the area. We will be tracking some showers as we head into the overnight hours and as well as we head into the day tomorrow. So here's a look at our satellite and radar. We do have our next weather maker just off to our west. Area below pressure, trailing cold front that will eventually be pushing its way through. Moisture will start to make its way in overnight and early into the day tomorrow. So this is about 3 a.m. We already start to see some showers. Notice our temperature is staying very mild in the 50s. Melting continues on, so some of those bigger snow piles that haven't melted will certainly be washed away as we head into the rest of this weekend. Staying in the 50s, we'll have some dry times during the day on Friday, but by Friday night, more widespread precipitation making its way in, and that will continue for the start of our New Year's Day.
Natalie, thanks. A live look at the CDC's COVID tracker now. As of today, the U.S. has recorded more than 100 million cases since the pandemic first began. But a former CDC director says the amount of cases is likely double that, probably more than 200 million infections. The CDC's data counts people who have tested positive more than once, but it does not count people who were asymptomatic and never got tested, or people who tested at home and never reported those results. And health experts hope that you'll keep those case numbers in mind when you're making your New Year's Eve plans. Live look now at the Ohio Department of Health's current COVID trends dashboard. You can see in the last week, more than 13,000 cases have been reported. And remember, we're also in the peak of cold and flu season. So while it's a little late to do so before this weekend, health experts, they still encourage you to get the latest flu and COVID vaccines. They also say if you're feeling sick at all, stay home. Consider getting tested for COVID to protect those most vulnerable.
If you're in a situation where people who are particularly vulnerable, if you're in a large crowd, if you're around a lot of people, you want to consider masking as a way to not only protect others, but to protect yourself as well, as part of the layered approach.
Now, he says there's not one individual thing that's going to stop the spread of any disease, but the more precautions you take can help reduce your chances of contracting anything. A story now from our partners at the Dayton Business Journal tonight. Dayton Children's is requesting $2 million in funding to help cover the cost of expanding its crisis center. The nearly $6 million project is going to double assessment capacity and will allow the hospital to expand services to patients. In 2021, Dayton Children's saw that all 24 of their behavioral health inpatient beds were consistently full, and the need is only expected to increase. So the expansion, they say, is going to help them and help our region's children significantly. And if you'd like to read more information about this, you can go to Dayton247now.com. You can find that story and others like it under the Dayton Business Journal heading in the News tab. Well, it's not just those who plan on placing wagers that need to be ready for sports betting to start in Ohio. The betting sites need to get prepared too. Lou Ann Stoya taking us behind the scenes at one location that says it is all hands on deck.
When the clock strikes midnight on January 1st, that's when bettors in Ohio will be able to place wagers on more than 24 sports books, including like here at the Columbus Racino. There will be 400 workers here at Scioto Downs, and it'll be all hands on deck New Year's Eve. Scioto Downs working to create a party atmosphere for the start of sports betting in Ohio. People will be able to place wagers here and on the app. If you're not familiar with how to do it, there will be workers here to coach you and lots of information online. Managers here tell us driver's licenses will be required to make sure bettors are at least 21 years old. Gamblers can sign up for spending limits and even a cool-off time to prevent people from busting their budget. So why get off the couch and visit the Racino? Workers tell us they're encouraging bettors to sign up for Caesars Rewards that are valid in 50 casinos in 16 states, and there will also be live entertainment. You won't be able to bet on the Buckeyes playoff game on December 31st, but if Ohio State gets past Georgia, they are favored to win the national championship, and you can place a wager then. In Columbus, I'm Lou Ann Stoya reporting.
Lou Ann, thanks. And speaking of that game, it's not all fun and games. The Buckeyes can describe their mentality in 2 words safe for TV: ticked off. Clay Hall is in Atlanta now, where all the stops are being pulled out to prepare for the Peach Bowl.
You want angry? You want motivated? It's the 4th-year head coach.
They should be, and we all should be. We know, what we need to do in this game to win, and that's kind of the way that this month has been.
Rather animated at practice on Thursday.
There's been, friction. There's been conflict. There's been a lot of that going on, and that's a healthy thing. The one good thing about this, we're going to go play. We're not going to sit there and worry about what if or anything like that. Nobody really gives us a chance to win this game anyways. So we're going to let it all out. We're going to play as hard as we possibly can and look up after 4 quarters and see where we're at.
His 2-time Heisman finalist at quarterback is locked in. C.J. Stroud sees the goal clearly.
But at the end of the day, we do have a job to do, and people do take Ohio State football very serious, and I think we do too, because we get up every morning and live this life for real.
And pass-catching savant Marvin Harrison Jr. would love to silence the pro-Georgia crowd on Saturday night. He enters the game with 72 catches this season, 12 for touchdowns.
I don't know, just like everybody's kind of against you, and obviously I love playing at home in front of Buckeye Nation too, but something about playing on the road, I like doing that more.
And that was Clay Hall reporting. Monday, January 2nd, the Bengals, they take on the Buffalo Bills right here on ABC 22. So please join us for a special pregame show. Monday night matchup sponsored by FanDuel. We'll hear from coaches, players, and history between those 2 teams. It all starts at 7:30 before that game right here on ABC.
Well, despite the snow that we had, some of that precipitation did help just a bit as far as our drought conditions. But this is the latest drought monitor update for us. You can see extreme severe drought conditions, I should say, over our western counties in Wayne County, Indiana, parts of Preble County, also under severe drought conditions. Rest of the area under moderate drought with the exception of our southeastern counties. Good news is that we do have rain on the way that will arrive as early as tonight, continuing on and off into the day tomorrow, but most of the rain is going to arrive Friday night and first half of the day on Sunday. And with that rainfall, we are anticipating some spots maybe getting over an inch of rain, especially off to our northwest, which is really the places that need it the most. Lesser totals will be seen to the south and the east, but a good soaking rain is in the forecast. If you need to get the car washed, keep in mind that we will be seeing that natural car wash as we head into the day tomorrow, especially for tomorrow night. I'll have a look at that 7-day, talk about our New Year's Eve, New Year's Day forecast coming up.
Natalie, thanks. Well, the countdown is on. We're just 2 days away from ringing in the new year. And if your New Year's Eve plans aren't set just yet, we've got you covered. The family-friendly things you can do around the Miami Valley to ring in 2023. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
the Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
We're ringing in 2023 this weekend. Do you have plans for the night yet? Elise Coulter breaking down the family-friendly events happening across the area.
If you're looking for something fun to do with the family this weekend, I've got you covered. Don't you worry. In fact, the Boonshaft Museum of Discovery is holding a New Year's Eve celebration from 9 o'clock at night until 12:30 in the morning. It's pretty exciting. And then also the Schuster Center is going to have the New Year's Eve Voyage à Paris, which is great. It is actually the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance. They're going to have the Dayton Ballet, the Dayton Opera Singers, and the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra as well. That's going on Saturday night, and Scene 75 all day long. You can check out their New Year's Eve bash and bring in the new year in a really family-friendly way. Guys, back to you.
Weather's not looking too bad. I know we've been talking about those rain chances, and we will see rain on New Year's Day, but it does look like it's going to be first half of the day event. I would still plan on some showers around, but it doesn't look like a complete washout for New Year's Eve evening. But again, rain is still in the forecast, especially first half of the day. Temperature-wise, very mild in the 50s, both New Year's Eve as well as for our New Year's Day, where we will see our highs back into the lower 50s. Which will be more than 10 degrees above normal for this time of the year. And we continue with the above normal temperature trend. In fact, we could be pretty close to a record by Tuesday. I know.
What?
That's, definitely warm.
And then
Close.
it drops to 33.
Right. And then it does look like winter will return by Thursday. That will be actually closer to normal for this time of year. Maybe some light snow in the forecast by next Thursday, but enjoy the mild weather while it's here.
I guess. All right, that does it for us. Have a good evening. We're over on Fox 45 next with updates. We'll see you there tonight.